So about a week ago, I decided to make a YouTube channel. Mostly on a whim, just for fun. I had a few things I wanted to try out and a few things I wanted to talk about at some point, but mostly I just felt like it on that day. That was roughly last Saturday, I think. And I did some brief research, found a microphone and a phone holder that I thought would work for me and were under about £20 total because I didn't want to put much of a budget into this initially. And then I started coming up with ideas for what I wanted to do. I didn't really have a direction at the time and didn't have a long-term plan, definitely. I happened to have some Flesh and Blood cards coming in and some Blitz decks on their way already because I'd been hoping to get into that, having seen some information about it out and about. So I had something I could use to start making a few videos, and I knew that next month I would be getting more stuff in that I could use to make a few more. But beyond that, I didn't really have a longer term plan, so I guess I should come up with a plan for what I'd like to do. So I guess we should put this into a couple of different phases. The first phase would probably be a learning phase. When I was coming up with some of the initial ideas for what I wanted, I underestimated how long they would take. I initially created accounts for various things I thought I'd need from my reading up, some free services that can help you make things for your channel and other things like the title card, the end card, basic editing tools. I downloaded all of those. So I grabbed one of the Blitz decks that had just come in and I started trying to make a video and immediately started to run into some problems. Firstly, the place I'm in at the moment doesn't have a lot of space and I don't have anywhere that's particularly good to set up for one of those top-down views, which are used in a lot of unboxing videos and generally anything where you're opening up or stuff or where the focus isn't on a person. So after some wrangling, I ended up getting a paper box and cardboard box and piling up a couple of books on top of it to try and pin my phone with a holder to hold it in place. Next thing was audio. The first two attempts at recording that video, the audio from the microphone wasn't syncing with the phone and wasn't registering some of the time. So the first two attempts had no sound whatsoever. So I had to try and overdub some of it. You'll notice while the editing is terrible in any regard, that the second half of the video is actually a set of smaller videos just stitched together because the sound kept breaking and I had to overdub them with my voice at a later point. Once I'd gotten the video footage, addressed the audio problems, the next thing I realized was that the editing would take far longer. I had thought if I could get through the talking aspect in a single bit without stuttering too much. I'll try not to edit this video too much so that you can see how often I flub or stutter when I'm speaking, especially when I don't have a script or anything written or laid out for it. But yes, I put the video files into the video editor, and I immediately realized that I needed to cut parts of it out because I was stumbling over myself, I needed to re-record sections, and that's why the latter half was all that stitched together video as I was trying to get to grips with it. Now, the first thing I did was that I gravely underestimated the amount of time and editing goes into even the smallest of videos. So when I made the first one, it didn't have much editing and it didn't take as long, but it looks terrible. So then I tried making a longer video, an analysis video. I got slightly better at the editing from piecing that together, but I still encountered some issues getting things to sync up or making it flow nicely. This one was easier because I was using graphics and data and I had already done all the calculations, gotten the data, and could just pull still images and put them in, which is far easier than trying to sync up to a moving video. But after this, there are still some things I don't like about the video. The pacing is a little slow on parts, and I should have explained certain things more, but it was good practice, and practice is what I need. After that, since I have the packs that I was going to open anyway for the Welcome to Wrath boosters, I decided to make that a week of opening one a day, just to see what it's like. I know I personally like that kind of content. I like having a relax and just watching somebody else open something or take it out. Another downside I noticed is that I speak in a monotone. When I'm recording something, if I'm reading something off a screen, it's just like in a single monotone, even if I am excited about something. It's just the way I seem to default, and it's not great for content. So I recorded a week's worth of those videos for two reasons. I kind of wanted to buy myself some time, because I know as a new channel I'm meant to be uploading daily, I think that people recommend. So obviously I have a full-time job, so I can't upload large videos each day. What I can do is do a block of 3-minute videos so that there's still a reason to visit the channel each day. And the second good thing was having a series of videos that are very similar but not identical allowed me to improve my editing. So I don't know when this is going to come out. I think it'll probably be when the 4th of those videos come out. But if you watch the first one, well, if you watch the second one and you compare it to what will be the 7th one when it comes out, you'll see that the editing is vastly different. On day 7, there is costs displayed. I have images for each of the cards coming up. I have some additional sound effects in. The logo, when I first put the logo in, I let it run for 10 seconds, but when I actually watched that back a few times, 10 seconds is a very long time for flashing up a logo. So going forward, I halved that time into 5 seconds to try and make it flow smoother. I've added more transitions, I'm trying to make things flow smoother, and even in the unedited videos, I'm making less mistakes, and that helps a lot. Like if you look at the first Dave's video, the first video is not actually the first pack I opened. The first pack I opened, I accidentally well, no, I didn't accidentally hit record. What happened was I had my feet raised slightly and I was resting my hands on my feet, which was causing my hand to shake an awful lot. And I thought it wasn't too noticeable or going to be noticeable at all, but when I actually watched the video footage back, my hand is shaking all over the place and it's making it really hard for the camera to focus, it's very distracting, and it's not great. So I decided I couldn't use that footage. So then I opened the second pack, and the second pack was for day 2. And if you've watched the videos, day 2 and day 3 don't have any sound. So it turns out the 3.5mm audio jack that I had plugged into my phone, I think I hadn't plugged it in fully, but the way I had it not only negated the sound capture from my phone itself, but also the sound capture from this, which made it impossible to, you couldn't hear anything in those two videos. So I had to overdub them, and overdubbing them took far longer because I have to match my speech to what's actually happening on screen. I have to check over what's actually happening in the footage. What card was that? What did I likely say about it? Like, I think I made a comment about the Demolition Crew card and how they look like they're having fun because they're very cheery and one of them's upside down, I believe. And stuff like that, I had to try and fit in, which from a getting content out easily perspective is not great, but from learning, it's very helpful because I had to do a bunch of different editing techniques and messing with the footage to try and cut it together in a workable way. And I got some improvement from that. So day 2 and 3 were like that. I then re-recorded day 1. So it's in fact the 3rd day, if we're going in terms of days, but it's the first pack opening. If you're curious for what was in the actual day 1, it did contain a super rare, but nothing more exciting than that. Then we go on to day 4. Day 4 was a similar story. The audio actually worked. I made a few tweaks and improvements to the way it's laid out, but other than that, didn't change much for that. And then we're on to day 5, 6, and 7. For day 5, 6, and 7, I'd been asking around, trying to get feedback, and one comment I saw on another subreddit, completely unrelated to what I'd been searching for, but for a similar style of product opening, was that they wanted to see the prices, a clear image of each of the components in the pack, engagement, they wanted the person on the camera to engage more, and there was another point that I've currently actually forgotten. But using those, I did make a few more tweaks. So I, what did I do? Oh yes, I added in the costs onto the screen. I added in images for each of the cards. I also added in 1 or 2 sound effects and music changes when more exciting cards were drawn, which I kind of hope will make the footage better. So if you watch day 5, 6, 7, you'll also notice that hopefully they have improved a lot. Now the next week after Wrath Week is going to be something with Arcane Rising. I haven't thought of a suitable name for what that week is going to be called, but it should be interesting in any case. I'm hoping that the editing will be much more consistent going forward from that, because now I can open the packs relatively easy. I know where the cards are. As I said in the first video, I didn't realize that the 3 more interesting cards are in the middle of the pack, not the end of the pack like I'm used to from Magic the Gathering. So when I was making the first video, I also opened the rare and nearly skipped past it because I didn't realize it was the rare. I should also probably note that pack number 5 is actually not pack number 5, because when I was recording that video, I was still on the camera setting, didn't realize, hit the camera button, took a photo, then spoke for 3 minutes while opening a packet and didn't capture any of it. So the last pack, day 7, if you're keeping track, is overall the 9th pack I opened from that box. Anyway, I think I went on a bit of a tangent. I was talking about coming up with a plan. So phase 1 of the plan is going to be learning. I'm going to put out videos frequently. Hopefully there should be sharp improvements in the quality of these videos as I go along. The Magic the Gathering intro for 2021 that I recorded for Sunday should be out by now, and you'll notice one of the massive problems with that one is that the autofocus wouldn't lock for me, which means every couple of seconds the video sort of refocuses, which could be a bit seasickening, and that's kind of unfortunate. And hopefully I've fixed that for this video, which is kind of its purpose. It's for testing if the autofocus is locking. And just now I've noticed another thing. I'm resting my hands on the desk, and every time I gesticulate, I'm shaking the desk a little. So I'm going to pull it back a little and move my hands off it and make a note of that for future videos. Another thing for phase 1 is finding out what the channel's content is mainly going to be. I have, we'll say, 4 main hobbies at the moment, and I have various levels of competency or depth of knowledge around them. So the first one would be MMOs, and I would rate my competency at a 9 or a 10 on that. I've been playing them for well over a decade. I've high-level characters and multiple characters in over a dozen top MMOs, and I've played over 100 MMOs in my lifetime. I know tactics, tricks, even economic gold making, even though I don't like talking. Oh. And that's my screens turning off, which I was using as a forward lighting. Another thing to note, the sleep timers or getting a replacement light. Anyway, back on track. So my competency with Guild Wars 2, one of the main MMOs I'm playing at the moment, I would rate at 9 or 10. So I would be quite comfortable talking about a range of topics, and in fact, it is one of the things I was hoping to talk more in depth about. We'll get into that slightly later. My second hobby would be Warhammer, and Age of Sigmar by extension. I would rate my competency at around a 7 on that. As you can see from the background, I have multiple full armies for both game modes. I'm a very mediocre painter, but I have painted several hundred models, so I guess I know some of the basics. I've read extensively. I've read the entire Horus Heresy series and many more books beside. You can't see it behind me, but I do have a bookshelf with many of the limited edition books because I do enjoy collecting them. I haven't been keeping up with the rules as much recently. I'm kind of having a slump in the Warhammer phase. I haven't painted anything in over a month, but this year I think I managed to paint about 100 models, so you go through these peaks and troughs when you're doing anything really, so I don't really mind, but competency around a 7. The next thing is Magic the Gathering. I got into that over the pandemic and did previously a few years ago play it. Now, during the pandemic, I obviously couldn't play against anyone, so I played a little bit of Arena, but I mainly like the collecting aspect, but I still want to play with the cards because it's expensive, and if I'm going to collect something expensive, I want to be able to use those things. So I slowly started assembling cards, decks, other bits and bobs I'll need for it. And I ended up with a lot of packets of cards. I've gone through several booster boxes. I have 8 commander decks I think I built, which I'll probably go through at some point, but I wouldn't rate my competency particularly high overall. I know enough, I know the rules, and I could give an introduction to someone coming into it, hence why I made that video. But overall, I would rate my competency with a 5. I don't know the entire contents of sets, I don't know the best picks for draft and standard, or anything like that. Pardon me. So I'd need to learn more to make more in-depth videos about that. And the last one would be Flesh and Blood. I'm literally just getting into that. I have yet to play a single game of it, and the packs you've seen me open are essentially all of the packets I've opened. So in total, I've opened 9 Welcome to Wrath booster packs, and I had 2 Crucible of War booster packs that I bought before anything else had arrived, just because I wanted to get a feel for what the cards looked like and what were the contents. I got a foil Majestic and a normal Majestic in those 2 packs, so it was actually a great start. And I've also got the Blitz decks. I've only opened the one I did on the video, so Prison, but I've yet to actually play with it because I don't actually have people I can play with that frequently. So that makes my competency on it about a 3. I have awareness of the cards, I have awareness of the sets, but I have not played a physical game and I don't know how to play. So I can't give any informative stuff on that. The statistical analysis I could do, because collecting is something I have done, and I know roughly how to show some of that. I know I made several caveats at the start of that video and how it's not entirely accurate, and I'll probably do a follow-up on that at some point, but you get the idea. Which leads me in... No, it doesn't lead me in. I'm probably going to cut some of this. So taking those 4 topics and their competencies into consideration, what can I make? Ideally, I want to make content for all 4 of those subjects. Since I will be getting into Flesh and Blood more, I'll probably have more opportunities to make content for it as I slowly get deeper in, but there's going to be shallow content and I'm not sure there's that much interest. For Magic the Gathering, there are a lot of creators in that space and it feels like a saturated market, but I'd still like to make the occasional video. I'm not expecting to pull in a large number of viewers from it, but just occasionally when topics interest me. Or for the pack openings. A little peek behind the curtain, my plan for the 3rd week is to open the Strixhaven boosters that were in the bundle I was showing. And for Warhammer, Warhammer is going to be when it takes my fancy. I may do a video or 2 on my current collection. My significant pile of shame, I can rest my hand on my pile of shame, and I don't know if you can see that my hand is vertical, which isn't great, so maybe I'll do a video or 2 on that. The 4th one is MMOs, and probably more specifically Guild Wars 2. Now, I have several topics on the general MMO space, and specifically Guild Wars 2, that I would love to do. They'll take a lot of time and a lot of effort, so I have to be aware of when I release those, because I'd like to get a good reception for the amount of time and effort they're going to take. They're probably also going to be the most interesting videos, so I want my editing skills to be on par for making them. So phase 1, in conclusion, is going to be about learning. I'm going to make introduction videos for each of the topics that interest me to see what the reception is, and if some interesting topics come up while I'm doing that, I might make short videos on them in specifics. I'm also maybe going to make 1 or 2 more of these because it's just useful that people can see what I'm thinking and not just the monotone speech that comes out of me sometimes when I was doing the early recordings. Hopefully I will fix that as we go forward and be more my usual self. So yes, a learning phase. I'm not going to focus on building up viewers for this phase or building up subscribers. I'm mostly going to work on improving myself and my content. Then, once I'm comfortable, I'll move on to phase 2. Phase 2 will be going more in depth on specific topics. I will see what's happened in the first month. Has anything particularly resonated with people or not? And then try and follow whatever trends or patterns I can discern from the available information, because it's all about the data. And phase 2 is going to be growth. In this stage, I guess I should aim for the 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, which means I'm going to have to do things that I usually hate. Like, I physically cringe every time I have to say like and subscribe. That has always not sat with me well. The constant self-promotion that anyone on any form of social media has to do, but I guess that's kind of the rat race on it. So hopefully in phase 2, my editing skills will be much better, so I can go deeper into content and make more interesting videos, which will hopefully draw in audiences. And as I build in a presence, I guess, or become a more personable character, I don't want to say character, it's just going to be me, that will hopefully resonate with some people, and I can build a community, and people will come. If you build it, they will come, so they say. And yeah, hopefully the content I can make is interesting. As I said, given my competency, the depth of content I can make is going to depend on the topic. But hey, if it's a month or two later, I'll hopefully have gotten to play a bit for some of the other hobbies, and I can talk more about it. So I guess the final phase would be stabilization. Finding my niche, I've built up a community, and then I can start making high quality videos that help people. They're interesting topics. If I see things that are causing frustration for people, or topics people are really interested in, I can explore more on it, build a community, and yeah, get to know everyone and sort of fit in. As not a darker side, but the flip side to that is that in phase 3, I will hopefully have hit the 2 goals and then be monetized, which will allow me to buy better equipment and possibly better software, which will in turn help me improve the quality of the videos I am making. In the case of some of the hobbies, they have affiliate programs where maybe you get exclusive access to things or things to preview, in which case I'll have unique perks or things that I can bring to the audience and give my unique view on, if my view is unique. Who knows? Thanks for listening to me rambling, and yeah, I guess we'll see where it goes.